I didn't stay out much all night, you know what I mean? I'd come in by 11 or 12 most every night. Yeah. I might get up at 2 and go again. Man, he was good, you know. He'd trail a line all day, and 2 barks, and you could tell whether it's a bear, a lion, or a bobcat. 4 or 5 of them dogs they'd bought from Dale and Clell over there. This old big red pup of mine, he just started trying to go up the hill and go up the hill. The other dogs they just messing around everywhere. Finally, I told him, I said, I'm going to let that pup go. And they said, all right, let him go. Shoot, he went up there on a big bluff and a little old narrow ledge, brought that line off and treed him in 100 yards of it.
Hey guys, in this interview I get to talk to Mr. Clay Henderson. Houndsman, did it the old-fashioned way, was up there in some of the best lion and bear country in New Mexico for sure. Has some really good stories to tell. One of my favorite interviews of all time. And then Mr. Jim Farmer sits in with us. He has a lot of good stories, and he was a mentor of mine who helped me when I first got started. Really great houndsman. Let's don't forget the sponsors. Value Pack Dog Food. I feed my dogs Value Pack. They sponsor me. Really good dog food. All the ingredients are sourced in the United States. Find a dealer close to you, and they support houndsmen, and that's one of the most important things. Try it out. I think you'll like it. Cold Strike Gear. For all your hound hunting needs, good company. Dustin's a good guy to work with, and if you use the code B100, you'll get 10% off, I believe. Also, of course, OnX Maps. If you're out in the backcountry, you need to use OnX Maps. I can't remember the code, but if you use this code right here, you'll get, I think, 10 or 20% off. But I use OnX Maps daily while I'm out here in the hills. And I don't know how I used to get by without it. Let's jump in the interview right now. You're live. Now, if you could just start with, how did you guys end up out here? Where did you come from originally?
Well, my folks originally was in Montana. Yellowstone National Park was my folks' ranch. The older generations.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they're on the iChars and everything. And when Chief Joseph, when Chief Joseph made the big, when they got after him, the government and stuff, he come by and he burnt the old Henderson homestead. Had one boy there in the teenage was trying to defend it, but he got away and they burnt that homestead.
Wow!
And then right about that same time, the time that Charlie Russell painted all them pictures about the cold and all of that, my folks had 500 head of cattle. They went out on the Yellowstone River and the ice broke through and drowned them all that night.
Oh, man.
All of them. And so they swapped all their stuff off or did something with it and headed for Texas. And they got over in Texas, I think Sterling City or somewhere, I'm not sure exactly. And they couldn't see a mountain, so they didn't even unload their wagon. They just turned and headed west. Well, just as they got to the New Mexico line, just before they did, why, Uncle Drew was born, the guy that started this ranch.
Started this ranch we're on right now?
Yeah, he was born. They had to wait there for him to be born.
What year was that?
1896.
Oh, man.
And so they headed this way, come on, and they come over there around Ruidoso and Tularosa and things, and started sawmilling and doing all kinds of things there. They was 4 brothers of them, my grandpa and 3 of his brothers. And then uncle, then when he got up big enough, he didn't want to. They had goats, the rest of them, and they lived all over them San and Gray Mountains, but they never proved up on anything. They just squatted everywhere. Well, I even have some of the records in there where the law was telling them to move and get off, you know. And but anyway, Uncle Drew, he didn't. When he hit 21, he didn't want goats or nothing like that. He wanted cows. So his dad took him to San Marcel up here below Socorro and bought him 200 head of cows. Well, then he started hunting a place to put his cows, and he found this place, and it was just the guy had it, and he wanted to get rid of it, and so Uncle Drew bought it from him.
And that's how you ended up here?
That's how we ended up.
How did the name Dusty come about?
Okay. Uncle Drew came in here in 1917. Thanksgiving Day is when he moved his cattle in here. Well, then it was later. There's them old cabins. You might have seen them coming in down there.
Yeah, I believe so.
That's where the old Dusty post office was. Well, they was wanting a name for it. Well, another uncle come in there, and boy, it's one of them windy days, and they had all these names on a list of paper. He just wrote in pencil right across the bottom. Dusty. Well, that's the name that came back for the post office. Dusty. And that was in, I don't know what year that was.
And what year were you born?
1945.
1945. So they had when they were here, did they have hounds? I mean, did they bring hounds with them, or is it something they acquired after they were here?
They couldn't raise. They had 500 head of horses in the San and Grays when they moved here. My granddad did. Yeah. And the family, and they couldn't raise none of them colts on them mountains.
I bet.
Because of the line, so they moved all them. They'd move all them mares down on them flats, way out in the flats, to try to raise them some colts, and they still lost a lot of colts. But when they came here, they only brought 12 mares with them, my dad, when he got old enough, he went back and sold half those horses, and he got $6 a head for them when he sold them. But probably some of them horses that's still there, that they're having trouble with there probably are.
Oh, yeah.
Some of are the remnants, probably.
I've seen those wild horses driving back. Used to when I worked on the missile range there, driving on the backside of the mountain.
Uncle Drew, he started riding a lot when he was real little, and he had a few cows, and he packed it was a piece of iron his dad had got him, and it's pretty heavy, and tied around his saddle horn, and it was to hit them old stallions when they'd run at him. And they'd try to catch those horses by the mane up there, and said he could hit them over the head.
He could whack them. Huh.
But boy, he hated the stallion, Uncle Drew did. He was afraid of them, He said, boy, I said, they're mean. He said, they're meaner than any bear or lion, he said.
Oh, I bet, yeah. Hobby dang. And then you settled here, brought the cattle in here, and then and they had hounds then to hunt the lions?
My uncle didn't have hounds.
Okay.
My granddad worked for the old biology survey all his life, a lot of time, after he moved here. And
his name? What was your uncle?
Bart Henderson.
Bart Henderson, okay.
And he worked for them. And they had hounds. And then my dad, they always had him a helper, and my dad was his helper most of the time. There's pictures of him inside there on that wall. And him and old Lum Woods used to hunt together a lot. Lum Woods hunted for the biology survey too. And
have you all kind of kept the same line of hounds for years? You traded around? And
No. Them hounds are all gone,
Yeah. Is there a big difference between the hounds from back then and the ones nowadays, or?
I guess I didn't hunt with those or anything, wasn't big enough. I don't know.
Yeah. When it come time for y'all to get your hounds, where'd you go to get them?
My hounds, I just tried to get dogs everywhere, but I never had any good ones, for years and years, and then. I got dogs from everywhere. Finally, I got a female that I got, I think Hugh only had the females up there, 2 or 3 of them, and they wouldn't run nothing. They wasn't any good. And so he gave me one of them, and of course I tried her, but it wasn't any good. Well, then I had this old Joe dog that I'd got. I think I got him from Arkansas or somewhere, and I caught lots of bear with him and things, a few line, but he was all right, but he wasn't nothing spectacular. Well, I didn't know it, but they got bred. Joe bred this female. Well, then I raised this. They had 4 pups. Well, I was broke and everything, so I kept the 2 red ticks, and I gave the 2 blue ticks away, and the mother. And so then I kept them 2 little red ticks, male and female. Well, shoot, and I lived over across the hill where there wasn't no cars to run over them.
Sure, yeah.
So I just turned them loose. Man, they started this tall and trailing rabbits everywhere, you know. So, man, they would trail, you know. And so I thought, well, man, them's going to be all right. And then I had this little, I got him, I think, from Arkansas or somewhere, too. He was a hog dog. But he was a little old kind of a brown speckled dog. Man, he was good, you know. He'd trail a line all day, and 2 barks, and you could tell whether it was a bear, a lion, or a bobcat. He just barked altogether different. And man, so then I started trying to train hobo with him, and that wasn't much trouble, you know. First, we up on Cave Creek up here, we had a lion killed a calf. Man, and Welch's had 4 or 5 of them dogs they'd bought from Dale and Clell over there. This old big red pup of mine, he just started trying to go up the hill and go up the hill. The other dogs they just messing around everywhere. Finally, I told him, I said, I'm going to let that pup go. And they said, all right, let him go. Shoot, he went up there on a big bluff and a little old narrow ledge, brought that line off and treated him in 100 yards of us down there, you know.
He knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah, that was the start of, then hobo. Then, boy, after he got 2 years old or so, well, then I got a female from Bear Turner, and I got one from Clell, and a red tick female. And then I bred hobo to them, and I had that 2 litters of pups.
So that was from Clell Lee and
Bear Turner.
Bear Turner, was he...
He was an old game warden when I moved to this country.
Oh, okay.
Lived there in Magdalena. He still had some hounds when I moved here.
Did he?
And he gave me this little female, and I kept her a long time. But she's so slow you couldn't catch nothing with her.
She just cold trailing?
No, just cold trailing. And just as hard as she could run. I've seen her go into a bear just as hard as she could run. And she hits that bear just as fast as she could run, which wasn't very fast, you know. But, no, she wasn't afraid of nothing, you know. But she'd get so far behind that
she
couldn't do nothing, you know. She was there trailing, but she wasn't really. And then all them pups out of her, I kept 2 out of her and 2 out of the other female. And I kept 3 out of the other female. And one of them, I had him completely trained and broke it too, and he was a good dog, and I had a snap on his collar and hit a pin one time. He got up there and hung himself. You know?
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then that's when I fell back to Roosevelt. Yeah. Roosevelt was just kind of a keeper one, so that if I did something happen, I'd have another one, you know. But I goofed up. I didn't keep none of them big red tick females. I had some of them big red tick females that was completely trained, you know. They trained themselves on them house cats, like I was telling you. Man, I had 3 old wild cats in the barn, and then I had a gentle cat, and she'd, from the house up to the barn, about 100 yards, and that cat always went, and them little pups would tree her on them boards on the fence, and the cat kept trying to get higher, and as the pups got older.
Bigger,
and them old tomcats would come out of that barn when I'd go in, and man, them pups would hit that track and go across them hills.
Wow.
And just, they'd stay treed all day, them pups. And,
Bobby dang.
And they trained themselves right there.
That's something.
And then, like I told, the first day I took the blue one out, I don't even know if I took him on purpose or whether he just was loose and followed us, you know. And I could hear him barking off in the canyon there, and a lot of snow on the ground. And I went off down there, and by golly, he's trailing a big old froze-out line track coming up that canyon. Just a big old pup, you know. And I thought, well, man, then this might be all right.
What you called him?
Major.
Major.
I thought he was the best dog I had.
Yeah.
Way under the fastest. I mean, big old heavy dog. But boy, when them others, they'd start a bear, when you'd see him, he'd be way out in the lead.
Is that
a line track? He could move a line track just great.
Is that what made him? You thought made him the best is how fast he could move a track?
No, that was best too. But he was my dog, and he was smart.
He could use his head.
Yeah, he used his head. Some of the things he'd do, boy, I couldn't believe. You know,
just figure it out.
You couldn't put him on the wrong end of a bear track. Boy, he'd turn it around and he'd go the right way on a bear. I never seen him do it on a line, but he did on a bear.
Turn it around.
He turned it around a lot of times. A lot of times he'd be the only one after the bear because all the rest of them went that way. If you seen Major coming back, you better stop those others if you could and get them back with him. Because
you ever had any trouble with the hounds running? I mean, you run a bear and then run a lion, or they do both the same?
Nah. They have to settle down a little bit after you run a few bear with them, you know. It kind of takes them a little bit to settle down. And
they want to just pick their head up and run.
Now, Major it didn't, because he just fall right in there. Hobo was bad about trying to overrun a track after I'd run a few bears.
Just trying to dog race it?
Yeah.
What I call they get going too fast.
Right.
Yeah. Now, you told me one time that you was hunting back here, Clay, and one of them Slash Ranch hounds trailed you up. Do you recall that story? You said a big old yearling male dog, and you was back in here, and you sent Dub a postcard and told him that.
I think that was my dad.
Your dad?
Mm-hmm. That was my dad.
So the Slash Ranch. Were you ever around those guys, or is it Dub Evans?
I knew Dub well, but I was just a kid, and Dub was older. You know, him and my uncle were good friends. Now, Dub's younger brother, Graves, I hunted 1,000,000 miles with him.
Oh, really?
Oh, Graves and I hunted everywhere.
Did you trade dogs with them at all, or did they?
No.
They had that all aren't they the ones that had all those brownie dogs?
Exactly.
Yeah. And they weren't too far from here as the crow flies, are they? Or
no.
Yeah. Well, that's Slash Ranch. Ranch.
Yeah.
I know they've got a book, Slash
That's
Ranch
a good
Hounds.
book.
Yeah.
That's a good book.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I like it because I've been everywhere in the book.
Yeah.
You can recognize the places, huh?
Yeah, gee, I love that book. And
when was that last grizzly bear caught? They're the ones who caught that last grizzly bear in this country.
They were, yeah, in that country, yeah.
I
Woods caught the last one up here.
Who did?
Lum Woods.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what year that was, or
huh?
Can you remember what year that was?
No, I can't
It's
remember.
in the 30s, I think.
In the 30s?
Yeah, it was in the 30s. I got pictures of the hide and everything somewhere in here in Uncle Drew's old pictures. Because they had it over here at Welty's.
How about the Slash? What year did they kill that bear? Because they killed it not too far from my old camp, the way I could try to figure it out. Over there on North Percha, right? Somewhere in there. I know they stayed on it for like 3 days, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. And Dub said there's another grizzly there, but nobody's ever heard or done or anything about it, you know.
You know, a friend of mine, and I don't know how truthful this was, but he told me this story when I moved to this country. He was over here in East Red at Turkey Springs, and they're on Black Mountain, and he claimed this was 2 years after Dub supposedly killed the last one down there. There was a sow with 2 cubs there, and they were grizzly cubs, and they went in there, and they got somebody with dogs, and it was right there on Black Mountain. They caught one of the cubs the first day, and they shot at the female as she was running. They missed her, but they shot her right through the back foot. They went back the next day in there and caught the other cub and caught that female, the mother to him.
Oh, really?
Right there on Black Mountain. And he said it was 2 years after Dub had caught those down there. So for her to get bred and have those cubs, they always said there had to be another one around here too.
Well, see that old big male. When my folks came here, and then Welty, Henry, which he married the oldest daughter, sister of my uncle's, you know, they would work together all the time. That old bear stayed up there all the time. They was the first ones to bring Hereford cattle here.
Yeah.
They brought them from Magdalena and brought them up that Rosedale Trail. Well, they made them there to the mouth of Water Canyon. Well, they left them bulls that night and went down to Henry. Come back the next morning, that bear had killed one of those bulls. And then they were working cattle in there, and this old bear killed. They left a big bag cow there because she didn't have her calf. Next morning they went up, and that cow was killed there, right there. And then it wasn't too long after that, maybe 6 months or a year, when old Lum Woods got after that other big bear.
Yeah.
They'd run him a lot.
Yeah.
And they run him over on the Simiaden Peak.
Yeah.
And he run him back in a little hole, and said when he got up there, that bear was just sitting there like that. And said watching them dogs. And said the dogs, of course, were just baying him around there. They wasn't getting close. And said he was just laying there. He shot him with a 32-20. You know, little bitty thing, you know, like that. Shot him right under the eye. And then he was gonna pull that. He couldn't get that bear out of that hole because he was so big. He tied it to his horse's tail and pulled his tail out. You know, pulled his tail out that way. That, I guess, pulled all them hairs out. I surely didn't pull the tail off. They said, "Oh, he pulled the tail off," but he probably just pulled all them hairs. You know that. You know when you double that up and too much hits to them horses together to back them. You know that.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
That's interesting about those grizzly bears, because I wonder. I
think it was after dubbing them killed out.
After that, that probably was the last.
Yeah, well, probably.
There might have been other ones someone killed somewhere and nobody ever heard about.
Right, exactly.
But
we have a place up here we call Robert's Place. Well, it's on our allotment on the forest, and it's a big bend in the canyon like this. Well, Robert's Satellite, he was going up the canyon one morning, met a bunch of cows coming and running down that canyon, so he got out on that ridge there where it doubled back, and right there, and there's two grizzlies come down following them cows, and he killed one of them right there, and then he wounded the other one. Well, they were all working cattle the next week up there and found the other one dead over there on the head of Pigeon Canyon. You know, he had killed them both. And now we have a set of kraals there, and they've been there for years. And anyway, we call it Robert's Place. That's
Robert's Place,
where he killed the grizzly.
Well, what do you think was worse on cattle, the bears or the lions?
It depends on where you're at.
Oh.
Yes, the bear is worse here on us.
Yeah.
Or was. The lions are way worse in southern Arizona.
That's what I've always heard.
The lions are really bad in southern Arizona.
I know there's a lot of lions in southern Arizona from what I hear.
Yeah, and they're bad on cattle down there.
Huh.
This is the old Mike Kelly. He asked Roy Dean, he says, Clay says, Roy Dean says, how come you and Hendersons don't ever have any trouble with bear and lion killing your cattle?
Is there more or less lions now than there used to be? What do you think?
I think there's more.
You think there's more?
I think there's more because these guys, gosh, they go out hunting and they hit a lot of tracks. Boy, when we were hunting, we hunted and hunted to find a lion track. And man, I don't know, they go out there and they trail one nearly all the time, you know, down here. Boy, especially down towards Winston, man, that one boy there, he's got some dogs and he's caught 8 this year. Not David, but that Christie's boy, Carter's boy.
Okay.
Yeah. He's caught 8 this year, and then David's caught, shoot, ain't no telling how many David's caught.
Hobby. You think that's what kind of hurt is keeping the deer population down, the lions? Or
I don't know whether they're bothering the deer too bad. Well, they're sure eating on the elk. You can't, the way we used to hunt the deer, the lion and stuff up high on them ridges and everything up there. There's no line up there now. You go hunting down in here and you might find some.
I hunt the low country. I started hunting. We went to the highest ridges around, Don't do that. Just start hunting when you unload now.
Exactly.
Because they're down lower, huh?
Yeah,
well, that's
I've had
where
to
these
change
elk-
my.
That's where these elk are, you know, and man, they.
Well, all the deer that's left is down low
Yeah,
too.
oh yeah, we got our little bunches here, you know, and
Because that's basically where the water's at, you know, around
Exactly.
somebody's well or their tank. But that's the way it is on my side of the hill.
I know. I got to talk to the biologist, the lion hunter or the lion biologist that works for Ted Turner and them. You know, he's out of Arizona originally. He's been studying lions forever. And he said for sure all the females come down low.
Yeah.
He said they're all down low to have their kittens, and
they go where the feed is.
yeah, and to stay away. I guess to raise their kittens up, kind of stay away from the toms. I don't know. I just
Yeah, wherever
repeat
they get
what I
some
heard.
Good food, you know.
Yeah. Huh. So when did Dale come into this country and you get to meet Dale Lee?
Oh, he didn't. He come in here and hunted some with my uncles and them.
Oh, okay.
Him and Clell. But when I do him, they still on the blue over there.
Oh,
I
over
went
in
to
Arizona.
I went to the blue.
Oh, you went up there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you hunted over in Arizona quite a bit too, or some, or?
Oh, yeah. I hunted a lot in Arizona. That Indian White Mountain Reservation,
Yep,
I
yep.
hunted lots there.
Did you like the hunting over there better than here, or just another place to hunt?
Just another place to hunt. But
Yeah.
you had a lot of roads over there. You know, you could go up and down the ridges and stuff. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly over there, a lot of it was bear hunting, you know. I
Yeah.
had them friends that had them permission and things to hunt over there. So
On the Indian reservation.
yeah, so I'd go with them, you know. Boy, them rocks, they scare
Yeah,
me.
me too anymore. I just get away from them, Clay.
I wasn't with them, but I hunted with Graves before and after, and he had all them good dogs of them Blue and Annie and gosh darn, I forgot some of them, Biggin and Tim. Yeah, anyway, he was over there on that old place that Juke Means had over
Right.
there. That lion treed, and these dogs was up there about even with him, and they tried to go out on the limb. 3 of them died right there.
Yeah.
You know, and them good dogs right in their prime, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff.
Fallen.
Falling, yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Boy, Graves and I had some outstanding hunts, you know, because he was a lucky hunter as well as good, you know, and boy, we had some good hunts. We started a line down there by Cook's Peak, and we had went to the Terra Blanca Ranch to hunt because they was having trouble, and we made a big circle. Well, we hit this line down there about 9 o'clock, and man, we jumped that line in a little bit. That line. At 4 o'clock that evening, 4 dogs is all we had left. He'd thrown them all out but 4. And they run up under this bluff, and they just laid down right there. Well, Graves and I rode around to the other side, and there was that line up on top. He was just give out, too. He was give out, too. Oh, Graves just pulled his gun and shot him right there, you know. I said, Graves, why would you shoot that line? Oh, gosh, we can't leave one of them alive. I said, Graves, that line give us the best trail in the world all day. That line went around our dogs, right back through them 2 or 3 times. And I saw him a dozen times that day.
Wow.
Oh, that was the most, I had a ball that day, you know. And we had 13 hounds with us or something when we started, and there's 4 finally went up under that bluff. We had dogs scattered from Cook's Peak all the way to Terra Blanca, you know.
They did.
Man, that line, it was about I don't know how old, but it was a young male line, you know, but boy, he did give us a run, you know. Graves and I over here on Silver Creek, we trailed into a place about big as this room, this whole thing. That ground was tore up. You never seen the ground tore up like it was. Boy, them dogs split. Some went both ways. We went right around the hill there, and they treed a big old tom line. He was skinned all over. The other dogs had went to the right on another big tom. But when we got that one, Graves killed it, and it was skinned all over. Well, them other dogs heard him shoot, and they came back. And there's still 2 or 3 up there treed. And so I went and got my dogs. I said, no, I didn't want that other one killed.
Yeah.
You know, they'd been fighting there. That's what had tore up that ground.
Yeah.
All them hounds, when they hit that spot, gee, I guess they was lying and really making the noise there. It was good. Yeah. Oh, big old line, big old line. Yeah.
Did you hunt a lot with Homer Bryant back in them, or just sparingly?
I just hunted with Homer some, you know. Yeah. I hunted some with him, and he went with Welty some and things. But
he worked for Herschel down here for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a couple of 3 pretty good dogs. I got a blue dog from him that I got from him that he was going to do something with him, and I said, don't do nothing with him. He said, shoot, I'll take him. Yeah. He would trail a line good, but he may trail all day between here and that barn, you know. And Homer says, Clay, I have to get my rope after him, make him go on. And so I took the old dog, and he was fine. He didn't bother me much, you know. He was too slow. Yeah. You'd never catch something. You know, I sold that thing to Gene Coon. I sold him to Gene over there in Arizona on the White Mountains. And that old thing, he led them dogs of his to about 10 bear there in about the next year and a half. That old dog run a bear fairly, you know, he wasn't fast, but he'd start that bear track for him and go, you know, and keep them other dogs on it till they got it gumped.
And then they'd take over the faster dogs,
And he loved him. He said Old Blue was the best dog in the world, but, you know, he was all right.
You like to run bears or lions? What?
Oh, I'd rather run a lion 20 to 1. Oh, I don't. That bear's just a race, you know.
Just a
just a race. I don't like that too much. I get in at 11, 12 o'clock at night, you know, a lot of times. And, gee, we run some rough bear, you know, gee.
That's something. Everybody I've ever talked to that has spent any time hunting lions and bears, they all say
I like
same thing as lions.
My dogs, you know,
They're
last I had 7 dogs, and I'd raised them all, but the 2 females that come from bear and them, you know, I'd raised them all. That's when it's good, you know, because gee, you see them and they just
take a lot of pride in it.
Just trailing them things.
That's what I like. I love to trail. And Graves, he had some good dogs then.
Oh, he had good dogs. He had one old blue dog. He claimed caught over 300 line.
Oh, wow.
But Graves was lucky. If Graves come up here to hunt and we turned it out right here, before he got to the backside, he'd have a track started. Yes, sir. He killed lots of bear on the ground in front of them dogs. Oh, lots of bear. He'd tree a few, but killed a lot of bear in the lead of them dogs. A lot.
So they were pretty fast, hard dogs too, huh?
Yeah, they were. Now he said they go back to the Slash Ranch dogs and stuff.
The old brownies that they had. Yeah,
they looked like it, but the blue dog, of course, didn't. But the others all. They looked like it. They were saddleback, back and tanned, and some of them was black, you know, and they looked like it. And they were pretty good dogs.
They're good.
They was trailing dogs. I don't think they were very good tree dogs. Now, him and I caught quite a few line. And that old blue dog that he claimed caught so many, after he got a little bit older, he'd just go to the tree and go around it about 3 times and then head out on the back trail.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That was a blue dog?
Yeah, he called him Old Blue.
I wonder if Susie was related to that dog.
He called him Blue, but boy, he'd used him, and he'd caught a lot of stuff, and the old dog was getting old. He might have just gotten
senile.
Yeah, because before, earlier, I didn't think he'd done that, but the last 2 or 3 lines we caught, well, he did. Graves and I started one over on the South Fork. Well, let's start at the start. We was going up this canyon, and that little rough dog of mine, Graves was pretty bad to him, and Blackie Woods was his nephew from down in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they'd just fight all day long when we'd go along, you know, and over which dog was the best, and if something did something wrong, and it was It's a mess all day. But anyway, we were going up there. Snow was deep. And that little red spotted dog of mine, old Rough, he went up on the side of the hill and he started to track. Well, Graves said, your dog started. Your dog started. I said, yeah, I guess he did. So the dogs all just went around that big mountain there. And we kind of got out of the picture and everything and went up above. And his old blue dog didn't go and things and got around. Next time we seen him, there was a tree with a lion. And Graves never made it to the tree. I made it to the tree, and him and Blackie, and not Blackie, one of his nephews, I think Clay Means. I think that's
Oh, okay. That sounds right.
Yeah. And they were there. And I went up to that line, and all these dogs are treed there, mine and his. That line's right in the top of a funny pine. You've seen them that just have the limbs all, it's got flat on top. Mm-hmm. That line was just going around a pissing. Oh, she was scared. Seen her wild. Dang, that line jumped out on the downhill side. Ooh. Then she jumped out over them dogs and just way down there. I didn't see her hit. She went plumb out of sight of me. Well, we left a bunch of dogs at that tree. Then we went on, and a lot of the others went. Come around what is Robert's Roost there, that Robert Roost country, rough and bluff. And after a while, they treed again. We got up fairly close, and she jumped again, and that left another bunch of dogs. So we went way around Robert's Roost and come in from this side. They were way down there. We could see them coming. His Black Tim and Hobo and Roosevelt and Major, they were all coming. Oh, and Ruff was in the bunch. And they were coming around after them, that line. Well, him and I is on a point of rock sticking out like this. He's over here and I'm here. That line came right up between us and we didn't even see it. And it's all that mahogany and oak brush. It'll come right up between us and they didn't see it. And them line come up, and that dogs were coming pretty hard. And gee, we got into race there. They seen the line and the dog went out there. That line made a circle, come around. Just as she jumped up in that tree, that rough dog of mine reached for her tail, but he missed her. And Graves come down there, and old Blue come with him. Blue jumped to that tree, and he just circled and went back on the trail. And old Graves just stepped off with his gun and shot her, And he was bad to do it, and I didn't like that because they give you a good race like that, man. I don't mind leaving them, He said, these ranchers will get mad. He told me that 100 times, but he was like, it's killing.
Yeah.
But
you think it helps those dogs to shoot them out to them?
Surely does, don't it?
I would think so. I know a lot of guys nowadays say that it doesn't help, but I don't know. You'd think it makes them a little bit.
I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, a little more hungrier to get it caught.
Right. Huh? You're right, because I don't know why it wouldn't.
How did y'all do? I mean, without being too graphic, about your trashing, dogs running trash when you didn't have these shockers. Did you? I mean, everybody now we got these shockers. Shoot, we can shock them from here to Winston almost. So.
I tell you, that 7 of mine. I tried everything in the world to. I'd put them in a barrel and cover that and roll them off the hill. I did everything, I did everything. And I had one dog to barrels, that Major dog. He never ran another deer after I put him in the barrel. Only thing it did to Roosevelt was made him afraid of barrels. But I got them and everything. And them old dogs just kind of quit it after they started catching stuff with them.
After you started catching lions, then they quit running.
They kind of quit running that kind of stuff.
I'd like to interject something here about the Henderson dogs. I tell you what, I've been down a lot of dog roads, owned a lot of dogs. And as a group, these were the straightest dogs I ever got into.
Natural cat dogs.
Natural. They had a good mind on them.
Yeah.
And I've owned a lot of dogs, and some of them were hard-headed. You could never. But these dogs, I've had dogs live and die at my place. It was either Wesley had given them to me or were out of Henderson dogs. Never felt a shock collar. Never shocked.
Never had to worry about them.
Now, I had a tracking collar on.
Yeah.
I had some of them never shocked. They lived and died right there. And that clinker dog that Wesley gave me, I saw him run one deer one time, and he didn't run it. He was just following the dogs that run it. And he came back to me, and I said, "You're just as guilty as the rest of them, Clinker." And that's the only thing I ever saw him. And that was probably the most rounded dog I ever seen. That he could start a track that most dogs would walk over. He treated like a coon dog. He could cold trail like a bloodhound, you know.
Wow.
And he had speed. He had everything. And I was so young and naive about it, I didn't know what I had. And I only got him bred to 2 or 3 females. Well, his pups, when you bred him to a good female that was equal to him or close to him, the pups were just outstanding, every one of them. But if you bred him to one of them mediocre, sorry type females, there'd only be 1 or 2 in the litter worth keeping, you know. That's just the way it went.
And how, do you know how he was bred or
he
what?
He was out of Wesley's dogs, a dog he called Jed that was my old captain. And I forget what female, I've got it written down at home. Yeah. I've got it, but it was one Wes gave him. He gave me a bigger dog that got run over, and he gave these other 2 to a friend of mine. Gave blue dog and red dog. Well, they gave me the red dog, and mine got run over. Now, I wasn't hunting a lot. I was just weekend hunting then. And I always accused him, and this was my fault. I always said he was slow starting. But I was only hunting 1 day a week. On weekends, I was working, you know. Why the dog never had a chance till he was about 3 or 4 years old. And then when it was just like you had that skillet on a stove. When it started heating up, that's when he got good. About 4-year-old, he just turned it on. Yeah.
I wonder how many good dogs now are gotten rid of or culled because
a bunch of them.
Because the guys don't have patience to give them a chance, you know.
I got 2 things I always tell people about dogs. I say stay out of their way first, though, and give them a lot of time. And that don't matter what it is, whether it's growing up and developing or if it's starting a cold track. Stay out of their way, you know.
Yeah.
And if they're trailing the track, stay out of the way. I had a female out of Clinker. I called her Lisa. And I've only really ever seen 1 good dog. I've seen 2 good dogs that could turn a track around a back track. This little female could turn a track around in a heartbeat like that. She'd trail right back underneath the mule if you got too close to her. And I learned a long time ago, you can push a dog off a track if you just keep riding to him, because he naturally will just go in front of you. But
when I was hunting with Keith, he always said, let's keep those dogs way out there.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't ride up on them at all.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Lisa
interesting.
Dog of mine, to her, a cold track wasn't a slow track, Clay. You know, you see a lot of dogs, they call them cold nose, they just boo-hooing around. But to her, a cold track, nothing else open, it wasn't a slow track. I mean, she trailed it just about like a hot track.
That's the way Major was, the old blue dog.
And another thing, you'd ride into a saddle or something where there's scrape. This is another thing she done. I've never had many dogs do it. She'd take the track both ways. She'd go out. I've seen her go 1/4 of a mile, never open on it, but just whipping her tail. And I just sat there. And if she wasn't satisfied it was going that way, she'd come back right there. And she had a brother that would do that too. They would go that way. And then they might open that way, but she'd check it both ways.
I'll be dang.
Now, a lot of my dogs...
And that was Lisa?
Lisa.
She was out of Clinker?
She's out of Clinker, and a female that Jimmer had over there, they call Freckles.
Was that Susie dog related to them in any way?
She could have been.
I think she was out of Clinker, I think. Remember Susie? For some reason, I thought Marty owned her.
He did.
And you owned her too at one time?
She was out of Rebel, which was a full brother to Clinker.
Okay.
When I tell you that Henderson killed, and my big blue, my red dog Bo got with her, Marty got the other 2. He got Rebel and Clinker. He hadn't named them, but she was out of Rebel. And Rebel was a big, pretty blue dog. I mean, a bench-looking dog. Clinker was kind of a narrow, slender-headed dog.
But they were full brothers?
Full brothers. I got pictures of them out there in Council Rock. We treed a line out there one day, and they're both sitting there, side by side, just like this, just like statues. I got a picture blown up.
Did they treat good?
They treat good.
Lisa or Susie, that was her.
It was her mother that was a weak tree dog.
Yeah, she would. Susie
was her mother, and I had my famous dog, the black dog, was a full brother to Susie.
Okay.
See, his dogs had double uncles. Their uncle, their their daddy was a uncle to them, and their mother was a sister to on the other side. They had double uncles, you know. But
everybody who ever hunted with Susie said that she could move a track as fast as anything, but they didn't like her up there in Ruidoso because of the tall pines. Yeah. She wouldn't stay treed. And then down in Texas, they said she was fine because they didn't have no trees down there, and they just so she could see it. She was okay.
I had Dharma, who was a full sister to her.
That's right.
And then I had Greg, who was a full brother, but he got a cancer as a 5-year-old. He was a nice, rounded dog, you know. I mean, but he got a big knot here in his lower intestine here. And I went out there one day, and there wasn't no water in the canal. And they can tell me that dogs don't. They know when they're in this. He drowned himself in the irrigation ditch, and there wasn't 3 inches of water there. A pool of water this big. And he was there with his nose underwater. I guess he went to get a drink and just collapsed or something. But I done had to quit hunting him, you know. But
that's the way Bo was. When I quit hunting Bo, you know, I bet he didn't last another week. When I started loading up the dogs and leaving him at home, he didn't live another week.
But the first dog I really got exposed to, the Henderson dog, was a dog Marty and them came up with. They called him Moses. He came from Clay. Remember Moses?
Oh, yeah. I got a brother to him right there in that picture in there. But
now
of course, he was red. And
yeah.
His brother was blue.
Yeah. You talk about a cold-nosed dog. He kind of showed a lot of the bloodhound. He's kind of slender-headed. But he could trail a grasshopper across a rock slide. That's
And do you remember how Moses was bred?
What
was he out of? Or
Clay would know. I don't know.
Was he? Did he have any bloodhound in him, or?
Oh, I don't think so.
Just out of some of that stuff y'all had for years.
Some of that stuff I had. Yeah, I think that Sam dog that I thought so much of.
Yeah.
I think he's a brother to him.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And
Moses and I didn't get along too good.
Oh.
He was kind of afraid of me, you know, when I had him, and so they wanted a dog and stuff, and so I said, maybe you better take him because he's a little afraid of me, you know, and I've done nothing to him. I don't know why, but he was a little bit cowed down around me, but I don't remember doing a thing to it, you know.
I had a little red tick at the same time that Jack George gave me, and I guess you'd give her to Jack George, and supposedly she was a Bertononi, came from that Bertononi Kojak dog. Do you recall that one, Clay? But this little female could cold trail, and her and Moses, you talk about, they were aggravating cold trail, and there was cold trailing one day. We got off went across some softer country. They was trailing a little old fox track like that, you know. The only dogs there that could trail it, but they was trailing it, you know.
Foxes. Ooh. You catching many bobcats?
I only had one dog that I thought could tell you, that little brown dog that I was telling you about. He could catch them. And my others, I never put Major and them on one too much. But old Jerry, he wouldn't start them at all, a horseback. If I got off a foot, he'd catch a bobcat. But if I got back on my horse, he'd quit it. He wouldn't run it. He wanted to go line up. Yeah, he was funny as heck about that. But I'd take him out here and catch a bobcat about whenever I wanted to with him if I could find a track. Yeah.
What, just real smart, real fast?
Yeah, and he never got in a hurry. Just kind of an old slow trot. Yeah. And he could, you know, they wonder so much.
Just accurate.
Yeah, and he just hit it kind of a slow trot. And man, until he jumped, and
then he had him. I'll be dang.
Yeah, and them others, they'd overrun it 1,000 times.
But
Major, I never put Major on many bobcats. I don't know why.
You know, I had a friend that had a little red female. Bud had trained her for him, and he called her Cherry. And I believe of all the dogs I ever saw that trailed, I believe she did the best job. And that she never picked her head up off the ground, Clay. And she had a terrible voice to begin with. She squeaked, like that. And then she barked at the ground. And you couldn't hear her 50 foot behind her. But she'd hit this little deal. And I guarantee you, she wouldn't take 3 steps past where she last smelled that lion track. And she'd turn it around. We caught a lion on A.L. Peak over there one day with her. And north of A.L. Peak there, and Cooney and Little Rosa and in there. and there was a snow laying on the north slope, and we'd be following it. You'd see a line track turn out, and the dogs going down the canyon. Well, everything run on except Cherry. You'd see her coming back up that track, just swinging her head like that. And she'd picked up 3 times. I saw her pick up those double backs, and some of them were. One of them was a quarter mile double back, and she finally caught the little Tom there in them bluffs and little Cooney there.
Is that something y'all seen a lot? Those lions doubling back on themselves, going out and coming back.
People don't realize it.
Yeah,
And then
I bet I had one line. I bet it doubled back 30 times on me one day, and after about 4 or 5 times, them dogs got pretty good at that. 2 or 3 of them, especially
Figuring it out.
Yeah, that little Sam dog there he could figure them out in a hurry. He's like that. If he didn't smell it, he came back and found it. He found it most of the time.
Huh.
now I got some dogs now that'll figure it out, but usually they're figuring it out coming back to me. If they start up the canyon, the track plays out, they'll come back to me, and if they're not right on the track, they might find where he turned out. And they do that, and like I say, after they figure it out a few times, they get to looking for it. But I've had good luck with the Henderson dogs of all the dogs, and I've tried a bunch of different. Every dog road I went down had a dead end in it.
Well, that's what's amazing about how it worked out with Susie and them, because I didn't know how they were bred. I just went by what everybody else said, and then we made that cross with Lily, and those guys, Ty and Mike and them, they all got those pups. Man, they went to catching lions, a lot of lions. And then Mike calls me up one day, said, "Hey, Brad," he said, "you need to look into these Henderson dogs." He said, "I got one. I don't even know where he got it. I think he got it from Wesley." And maybe 2 of them. He said, "They are the real deal. They are cat-minded dogs and this and that." And I didn't think nothing of it until I was talking to Jim. And Jim told me, he said, "Well, Susie's bred like that too." And that was kind of amazing. It's kind of, a lot of those good dogs, they go back to a pretty small gene pool.
Right. Clay told me a story one time. I don't know if you recall this, Clay. You told me, you said that he's talking about me and Wes. He said, "Y'all have got it made." He said, "Y'all keep 15, 20 dogs tied in your yard." He said, "Back when I was hunting, talking a long time ago, said I only kept 3 or 4 of the dogs, and I kept 3 or 4 of the best ones, Said I could just barely feed them. I had a family to feed."
Right.
And said I only kept the best ones, and I usually kept the male dogs because you didn't want them in heat. And that's back when y'all would see a line track, and you'd come to the house and get the dogs.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that story?
Oh, yeah.
So you said that we done did the culling and selection for you. That's what you
Done all the hard work.
Yeah, I thanked him for it too. But,
Wes, he never went through dogs like me. Shoot, I went through, I can't say hundreds, but I bet I went through 50 probably or more. I had 60 one time.
Wow.
But they weren't all good ones, I had pups and everything else.
All different stages.
Yep, but...
What was the hardest you had? I mean, going through that many dogs, what? Just finding ones that would cold trail or?
Cold trail and do what I wanted. I don't know. I just called them.
Get something wrong that you just didn't?
Wrong, or one try to fight or something like that. I didn't put up with that,
Yeah.
Major was a little bit that way, and I sure got after him a lot, but he was a little bit, if I hadn't have worked on him a little bit, he'd probably been pretty bad, but that was a blue one, and he was the best one I had, I thought.
I was told that one of the differences between the guys who hunt lions nowadays, some of them, there's some that still stay on it, and the way you guys were, that when you guys got on a lion track, you stayed on that lion. You just had to just stay after him, try to figure out where he was going and this and that. Is that about right? I mean, or just
we'd stay. I didn't stay out much all night.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd come in by 11 or 12 most every night. I might get up at 2 and go again.
Go.
Honey, did you tell him about Dale and his little dog?
Have you heard those when he helped court and give all his little white dogs away? Huh? You didn't?
No, sir.
You see, when he took them down there, he trained them to hunt bear and lion, and they did. They fought very good,
Little bitty dogs?
Yeah. Jack Russell's.
Jack Russell's.
And he took 3 of them down there. And he said, the first Jagger, they run pretty good. Said the second one, they run a little. Said the third one, said one of them wouldn't even go, and said they just kind of sit around there, you know. Let me tell this story that I'm sure you all heard him because anyway he said that he caught a Jagger with them little dogs, and he said it went up a long sloping tree. Said it was sitting up there, and he said I'd been around enough lions to know that when it was coming, and he said when that Jagger, it said that Tigger, he said it was coming, and I knew it. And he said, boy, I broke and run. And he said, there's a pretty good sized flat there. And he said, in just a minute, the Tigger come out of there. And he said, that Tigger was fooled. Said he looked around and said all he could see was asses. He said, dogs, man, dogs. Said they were all leaving. He said that Tigger hit the ground. Said there wasn't nothing for him to get. He said, well, we all left. He said, anyway, he said that he took them little dogs, and he said then we just had, after they wouldn't run nothing, he said I didn't want them anymore. Said I had a lot of them little Mexican kids around there, and said they liked them little dogs. And he said I just got all these guys that work for me to hold these hounds around. Said I got them all in front of me. Said I got me a little desk, got me a little hammer, and he said we held court over each one of those little dogs. And he said I sentenced each one of them to stay with that little Mexican kid the rest of their life.
Well, you were telling me a story about Dale and his hands and his britches falling down.
Oh yeah, that was over on the Blue there. He said if y'all, me and Bud Walker were there, and he said if you'll feed the horses and things, why I'll take care of the dogs. He said I got a doctor their feet and stuff. So he had that stuff. We're over there quite a ways, and we hear help, help, help. And we go over there, running over there to help him, and his pants had fell down. All he wanted was us to help him get his pants up. He couldn't do it with all that pine tar and all that stuff he had on his hand.
You know, I've gotten acquainted with, just over the phone with a guy back in Kentucky. And years ago, he would go to that deal at Canton, Ohio, you know, that big coon herd. And Pat Wantland would drive Dale up there, and they'd sell them books. Well, he got acquainted with Dale. He went 2 years in a row to that big deal there at Canton, you know, the big hound dog gathering.
Autumn Oaks, is that what?
Yeah, Autumn Oaks, they call it. But when this kid graduated from school, his name was Robert Hagerman. His dad asked him what he wanted for graduation present. He told him, I want to go to Arizona and spend some time with that old man. Said Dale had invited him out there. So he called him, and Dale said, yeah, come on out. Said, you bring your buddy if you want to. So the dad drove them out there, the 2 boys, and dropped them off, and they was living at Camp Verde then. He said they lived in an old camper shell on a pickup. But he said that was their first job, was going out there shaving that pinon sap off them trees with a knife or a hatchet or whatever, and then Dale would boil it down and make that goop he put on them dogs' feet. Mm-hmm. And he said their job was doctoring. He said Dale had 18 dogs there. Every evening they went and painted them dogs' feet with that stuff.
Before Dale ever started that, my dad and them showed me how to do that, make that stuff.
Did you do it some?
I didn't do it much.
You didn't do it much?
I did it some after they showed me, but not much. You know, it is too messy.
Do you think it helped?
Huh?
Do you think it helped?
It might have helped. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't tell.
But that old kid, I said, he's not a kid now. He's 50-something year old. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
He said they hunted all summer there, hot, and said they would come down at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, beat on their door and tell them, get up, we got to go. And their job was to feed the horses and mules and the dogs, but they'd hunt till 9 or 10 o'clock. And Dale was done old then. And a guy by the name of Jim Brooks was living there. Did you ever know him? But
Sammy Foster. Did you ever hear of Sammy Foster?
Oh, I heard of him.
I didn't
I've met him.
Did you meet him? He was with Dale down in Mexico.
Oh, yeah. Dale said he was the guy that of all the people he met, the guy that could do anything, the best that he'd found. He come riding off to Clell's on a horse one day, whether he was wanted or anything like that, going to stay a little bit and eat. And I can't remember the time, stayed 4 years or something like that. Dale thought Sammy could do anything, you know. He really liked Sammy, yeah. Said the only thing matter with him was his drinking, you know.
Oh, he get to drinking. And Dale, he was only married like once for just a little while.
Yeah, he said he looked at her feet one day and said, hell, they's worn off plumb to the ankles. So he said he just got rid of her. She was trying to follow him around.
Well, you know, Quentin was married one time too, to that Mars's daughter, you know, the saddlemaker. He said that he run her off because she broke an axe handle and she stepped on a hound pup and crippled it. He run her off, you know.
Started out hunting one morning with Graves, Evan. He always rode a Gruyere mare, or did it for a long time till she played out. Boy, she was tough. But she'd buck a little bit of a morning, you know, and he'd pull all of us young guys. Did we go with him? Well, will you ride her for a while here the first morning? We'd have to ride his old mare for him. And we were going up out of Water Canyon one morning real early, and he was riding her. And there's a big old stump there on the side of the hill. And that stump had a thing, and it run that limb of that stump right between his back cinch, you know, under it. Boy, he hollered, "Get to her, boys, get to her." He said that about as fast as he could. And boy, we just swarmed her, you know. All of us jumped off and grabbed her, you know, and held her. She didn't buck him off or nothing. He always had a styrofoam pad sewed in his seat of his saddle, you know, about that deep, what he rode on all the time.
For to keep him comfortable?
Yeah, he was stove up and everything, you know. Yeah.
Was he a pretty good hunter, Clay? Graves?
I guess he was. I don't know. Boy, he caught a lot of stuff.
Did he?
Yeah. Now, he did a lot of things that, and maybe I'm not, you know, maybe I'm not that well, but he done a lot of things that I didn't like.
Kind of unethical about it.
Yes, I didn't like killing all that stuff that we caught, all the lines especially, you know, and just kind of overbearing about a lot of stuff and always talking about somebody else's dog.
Yeah.
Well, your dog started it. Your dog did it. If it was trash or something, you know. And, you know, we never did that, you know. We just, a dog's a dog, you know, and doggone it. And him and Blackie, I went with Blackie and him a lot. Blackie was the best hunter.
Yeah.
But Blackie and him fought all the time, you know, over their dogs and things. And I'd just take one or two because I didn't, but I usually took 4. But I didn't like them arguing over that and me arguing, you know, Graves telling me mine did something. Because mine would do something once in a while, you know. Yeah, right. But
Blackie used a different kind of dog?
Not really.
Really?
He had some, I don't think he had none of the old stuff that Graves had, you know. They was a lot of spotted dogs, you know, and things, but I don't know where they came from or nothing about it. I imagine they were Texas dogs. I don't have any idea.
I heard that Blackie had some running type dogs.
That's what some of them looked like.
Did they?
But they was trailing boogers. But I don't know what in the world they'd do on a tree too much. We only caught 2 or 3 lines, you know, with them. I mean, you know, when we was all together.
Blackie, he's a good hunter, wasn't he?
Yeah. We was on that same place that I told you a while ago about that over there on the Byers Run, and there is lots of bluffs in there. We had 15 dogs or more at a line tree. This line jumped out and went down, come up through a crack over there and everything. Graves there. Boys, watch them. You'll see the line dogs come out of there. He said, said only the line dogs will follow that line out. You know who followed him out? Roosevelt. That's the only dog out of the 15 that followed him out, and that was Roosevelt. Yeah, that's the only one that followed him out. Oh yeah, Clay. He come out. Roosevelt come out of there. He knew him. Yeah, but I liked to hunt with Graves. He was, you knew you was going to catch something that day. I mean, he was lucky, man. He'd catch a line right here in the flats.
Did y'all travel around a lot to hunt? I mean, if there wasn't nothing lying around here, did you go travel and go other places, or did you just stay?
Yeah, all the way from, I'm going to say Cook's Peak to north here. We didn't go to Arizona, or no, Graves wouldn't go there. We just, all the Black Range, and all the San Mateos, and
just hit a canyon and a ridge and make a circle and then move to another place and keep on moving.
Yeah, but we didn't have to move very much. Once in a while we'd go out starting a track, but boy, we started one damn near every day with Graves.
Really?
He was the luckiest man I ever seen.
Huh.
Yes, sir.
You think he just luck, or did he know better where to look?
He knew where to look.
Yeah.
He knew where to look. Over there, especially in the Black Range there, We got places we call Graves's Mountain and all kinds of different things. That Graves's Mountain, that's a lion-infested son of a gun,
Tell him the Walker story.
Oh, I don't remember the names, but they kept after me forever it don't sound like that's the right name. But anyway, he gets after me every time I'd see him. I didn't see him very often, but Clay, I want to come up there and hunt with you and show you how them walkers can run a bear. And I just kind of shuck it off. But after a while, he got to really wanting to come. We went over here, right straight across over here, and that's pretty rough to run a bear over there. I've run lots of them over there. And them dogs, they got to know what they're doing to run a bear over there. I mean, boy, it's rough and bluffy, and them old bear can run, and most of them head south. But anyway, this bear, we started a bear right on the side of Bear Mountain right there. Hobo started it right around about a 2-year-old bear, about half poor. And he went north. All them guys wanting to go north after them dogs. I said, there ain't no use going there. I said, they'll either catch him and then we can go after a while and get to him, or I said, he'll come back this way. So we went over there on a little old high peak. I said, let's just wait right here a while. Every once in a while we'd hear a dog bark way up to the north. Oh, we'd been there a while. Here come the bear, right through that saddle. Just to run as hard as he could. In a little bit, right behind him was the old blue dog of mine. He was coming. And then in a minute, just a little bit, here come a whole pack of my redwoods all together. That's how they're all about the same speed. Anyway, we waited a long time. I think finally 2 walkers came by, but the whole others didn't. They got thrown out. And I never heard another word about that the rest of the time. They said, well, let's go. Them dogs going to catch that bear. I said, them dogs are not going to catch that bear. He said, your dog's not going to catch that bear? I said, no. I said, they can't catch that bear. I said, look how much our start he had. And I said, they've already run. And I said, he's a 2-year-old poor bear. They ain't never going to catch that bear. I got my dogs back in 3 or 4 days. Porcupine quilled, he had them all over him like that. He had them so more than I've ever seen any dog have. I'd be a liar, guys, if I told you anything else. When I started pulling them, most all my dogs I'd have to tie down or anything like that. That dog braced himself like that. I pulled every quill out, and he'd jerk a little like that, but I never had to do nothing to him. He just braced his.
Stood there and took it, did he?
Stood there and took it. Just stood there like that with braced and just. I pulled every one, and I never seen one have that. But
after he got into them once, would he get back into them, or did he quit them? Porcupines.
About 3 months later, I come out to where he was tied. He had one quill in the end of his nose, and he was barking, and he was telling me something was wrong. So I come out there, and there's a porcupine in his house.
Oh God!
And he had one quill, so he never touched another one as long as I owned him.
Are there many porcupines left around this country?
There's a lot of them here.
Are there?
They're eating on all the pinyons now.
I hardly see any.
We've been we've been spraying those cedars, you know, and thing, and she helps me, and she's talking about the porcupine. She says every tree's got a ring around it or the limb.
Really?
And boy, there's a lot of them. She said she took her, started taking her pistol. I'm going to shoot, but we never found a porcupine, not a one. We'd found one or two before that, but there's a lot of them here now.
Do you used to get a lot more snow in this country than you do now?
Oh yeah, gee, we used to get a lot of snow. I've seen it a lot of times. My uncle would go to the woodpile. It was about where the butane tank is. You could just see his hat where we'd shovel that.
Wow.
Now you don't even have to make a trail, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man, they was, and all these big canyons like Whitewater and Pigeon and Red Canyon, they all ran out from the snow, clear, you know, plumb out.
Oh, wow.
And they do it twice a year, and now they don't never do it, you know. And Henry Welty over there at the Welty's, he would never start his spring branding and stuff until the water come into his horse pasture there, so he didn't have to pump his old deep well, you know. And he had all he had it pump with it was an old truck, you know, and that old belt, and start his old truck, and he'd wait till that water come in, and then in the fall he'd do the same thing, wait till the water come into his horse pasture, so he didn't have to water them horses, you know, out of there.
Robbie.
Yeah.
Huh. Not near as much rain, probably.
No. Last year, you know, she got me that little thing out there, whatever that is, and we got 6/10 of an inch of rain, but we got it in 1/10 of a tenth, you know, at a time. That's what it measured. We didn't get nothing last year. One pasture back there where I kept the cows, and I still sold 30-some of them, and it made it carried that little bunch, but that's all.
Huh.
The rest of the ranch didn't get any.
Yeah, I remember years ago going down this road, and this is a pretty valley down through here in the fall. Grandma grass would be headed out that tall. This ain't no exaggeration. And it's just beautiful. But I haven't seen that, and I don't know if it's been 10 years since I've seen it.
Going to Magdalena from here, they'd be months on end. We couldn't go to Magdalena because out on them plains, that snow had drifted into the road, you know, and the road's just lower than the outside, and it'd fill up with snow, and you couldn't make it.
I hear you trap a little bit too.
I once in a while trap nowadays, yeah.
And you trap coyotes?
Yeah, I trap coyotes, yeah.
I'll be. More coyotes now than there used to be?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah, it used to be. They had the 1080 and stuff, you know, and man, there's a lot more now.
I had a guy tell me, a lion trapper, works for the government, and he works in these bighorn sheep ranges, and he had told me that he thought that there's more lions now because there's no more of that 1080 and everything they use for coyotes. He said that stuff killed a lot of lions too.
I imagine it did, yeah. A lion that had come in and eat, you know, we used to think a lion wouldn't eat none of that carrion or anything, but they do.
They do.
Yes, they do. And folks all told me, oh, they'll kill their own, but
They don't.
I found out, you know, on my own that they do eat, especially an old one with some little ones, you know.
I found them eating on them clear up to the maggot stage. You know, when
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a picture of one that the guy sent me of a lion out there on those flats out there, this side of the San Andreas, and eating on and she's an old. You can tell she's an old female lion and she's out there eating on an old dead cow. I mean, just sitting there. They put camera on one of those game cameras on the cow to get, you know, I guess to see a coyote or something, and they caught that lion on there. She was having a hard time making a living. You can tell.
No. I was out there helping them gather cows and putting in some pipelines and things there on the canes. Gee, there was a lot of lion tracks out there, you know.
Oh, out there on the Coronat. That's where I was. I had trailed that lion the day before, and I didn't trust my dogs enough, really. If I'd have known it was a lion, I'd have made a big circle out there. I just kept thinking I was going to see a fox jumping out in front of my dogs.
Yeah. When we were doing that, man, there was 2 or 3 lions right there around where we were at. And, man, 2 of them come down the road, big old pile of crap. They're as big as I ever seen, you know. It was where they'd stopped that night. They were fresh.
And they say they eat coyotes, that those lions kill coyotes and eat coyotes out there. That's what that biologist told me. And they said if they keep doing that, they get what kind of worm is that? Pinworm or something? And it'll kill the lion eventually. But
I've only seen two or three coyotes that the lion had killed. Most of it was at a kill, you know, and I figured that coyote had come into that kill and that lion slipped in on him, you know, getting his kill. Well, I'll tell you something that's real interesting that I did see, and it's been quite a while. This old boy that's up here deer hunting, and he come in and told me, says that, and he was a big liar. He come in and he'd liable to tell you anything. And he come in and he said, Clay, over there on top of that peak, he said, there's a place there that said it's tore up bad. He said a lion killed and a bear got in a fight there, and said they killed each other right there. Said they're both dead laying there. Well, I thought, well. Then he reached in his pocket. He pulled out a foot of each one. He said, look here. So the next day I had to go right over to see them. Oh, that was the darndest place you ever seen. It was bigger than this room. And it had mahogany broke that big and oak brush, and it was tore up. And they were both dead, both females.
So he was telling the truth.
Yeah, he was telling the truth.
I'll be.
And that's the only time I ever seen anything like that. But and I had to ride over. There's on that big old high mountain, the first one there, and that deer was there. I guess the lion had killed the deer, and that bear's going to come in and take it. I guess.
Take it away.
I don't know, but they were both dead right there. You know, the link to this room are a little further apart.
Huh.
They were both dead right there.
That's something. So what'd you prefer? Do you ride mules much or horses?
I'm a horseman.
Yeah, I believe.
To tell you the truth, I've only had 2 mules. Both of them I'd bought for packing.
Yeah.
Tell you that Welch's had a bunch over here, but they didn't have any that was good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of them that I got for packing, you could ride, and she was good, but the other one was too old. I mean, he was just an old mule, but the little dun mule was a good little mule. But I packed my camp into the wilderness a bunch of times on them, and the next to the last time I went in there, a guy said, I want to buy them mules, and I said, well, they're for sale. He said, but I said, I got to get my camp out of here. He said, well, if you'll ride to my camp tonight, I'll give you a check for them mules. And I said, all right. And I said, what do you want me to do with them mules? He said, tie them to the tree when you get your camp out. So that's what I did. I tied them to the tree and got my check. And the next year I went in there. He still had the little young dun one because she was there, you know, but the old mule, I guess he'd got rid of him, you know.
When you packed in the wilderness, what were you? Deer hunting? Or
elk hunting.
Elk hunting?
I went in there from the time I was 15 till a long time. I was the first, me and another guy. The other guy didn't pack in. He just hunted himself. But me and them 2 boys was the first ones in there and everything of outfitters on this end of the wilderness, not on the other end. You know, they was all them other boys from Cliff and things over there, but they're at Willow Creek and around the way. We was the first ones in there.
Were you outfitting hunters? Or?
Well, we did after the first couple of years, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then the last year I was there, these people, all of them would bring their wife and kids, and they'd just go crazy with them horses and ride up and down them trails and everywhere else. Well, that ended your elk hunting. You know, them elk left, you know.
Huh. Mm-hmm. Copy game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it. I wish I could pack more. I love to pack and go in, but I just don't. Like this summer, I had plans, and I haven't had time. It seems like I don't know why I don't have time anymore.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. I have trouble. Of course, I'm slower than I want to.
Maybe that's my problem. I'm just too slow to make time.
No, I don't know.
Were the elk in there the first time you started going, Clay? Or
Yeah.
They were always there.
Yeah, no, just a few.
Just a few.
Yeah, they said they come in from the Hart Barn down there. Said he had that game ranch down there, and said he water gap washed out, and they got out. And then when we started going, there was a guy by the name of McDonald that I knew, and he'd go in there. He'd been going for 2 years, And I knew him pretty well, and he said, "You need to go in there." And so we went in there and killed a couple of elk or 3, and then after that, why, I think we went twice, and then we started taking a hunter or 2 in there. But we always had good luck in there. We never stayed very long. You know, we kind of learned where to go and how to do it. But then they started doing all that riding up and down them places and things. That just ruined it. You know, they
Push the elk out.
pushed the elk out. Yeah. Quentin Hull. Oh, he'd always come to our camp, and you know we always had lots to drink. I mean, Daryl and I always had lots, and of course Roy Dean, he did. He drank beer. Daryl and I drink whiskey usually, but old Quentin would come to our camp. Say 4 of us sitting here, the bottle passes around twice, and then after that, you had to ask Quentin for a drink. You know? He was hanging on to it. And he'd leave there at our camp, and he'd be on that old horse, and he'd be sticking straight out to the side. And you'd think, I'd tell them boys, he ain't going to make it. Next night, about 4 o'clock, here he'd come trotting in again, ready for another night, you know. And then he'd start bad-mouthing me because I'd coming over there hunting. Telling everybody.
He was a character, wasn't he?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Him and I, and this McCracken boy up here, I sold him 3 or 4 dogs that I'd raised. And he got to going with Quentin a lot over there. And then I went over there with Quentin and him one day, and the bear was thick. They were tearing down them
Oaks.
No, them juniper.
Oh, okay.
Juniper was just thick, and they were tearing down. Well, we went in that day, and oh shoot, he's all his dogs, Quentin's dogs, my dogs. I think I only took 4, and right off started the bear right off the way. Well, my 3, Ruff and Roosevelt and Hobo, they started after this bear. And so I started after them. I don't know what happened to the rest or nothing. I jumped off in a place where in one of them side canyons that go off into the middle where riding that old horse of mine. Then I lost my dog, and I don't know where they went or nothing about them. I come back up the same rail, and there was Quentin and Tommy. They had jumped them mules off in that same place, but them mules wouldn't jump out. So they were taking rocks and building a trail out of there. And I thought, gee. Anyway, we started back. Well, here come another bear right across in front of us. And heck, we got all them dogs of theirs and everything else. And that bear crossed Indian Creek and started out. Well, they started shooting at that bear, and I wasn't with them. I was kind of behind. Darn, no dog went out there except Major, that old blue dog of mine. I thought, what in the world? Where's all their dogs? Anyway, they wounded that bear, and then they come off back into Indian Creek. I went off in there, but I couldn't ever find my dog. I heard him when he hit the bear because he made that, ooh, I knew when he hit the bear. I come back, but I couldn't find him. So then when they got back to camp, they said, well, we're leaving. Said, we got to go. So they all left. So I was camped there in that little old bitty cabin. And along about the middle of the night, I smelt bear. I smelled a bear coming. I thought, uh-oh. I heard something come up the steps, walked into the cabin. I thought, and all I could smell was bear. Come up to my bed, and then just crawled up on my bed with my feet and went to sleep. It was that old blue dog. He caught that bear down there that probably died. But anyway, cost me then $500 and some bucks because that bear had caught him in the side and all of that. And so I had to come out of there, took him to Cruces to the veterinary, and they patched him, cleaned out a whole bunch of stuff out of him, pus and all kinds, sewed it up. Cost me $500. I went back the next day to find my other 3 dogs, and I got up on one of them little old peaks down there. I could hear them trailing. I thought, gee, and so I finally found them, got to them. They was trailing a big bear going the other way, then coming back up through there, you know. But That'd have been 2 days or 3, and yeah, I got them finally. Gee.
There are more bears now than there used to be?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of bears.
They are. Used to, when me and them 2 boys hunted here, you didn't find a bear everywhere. The ones you found was looking over your shoulder.
They're looking for dogs behind
Yes, they're there. Oh, we hunted all the time. Not every day, but I mean, we didn't care if there's a season or what it was. We went bear hunting. Hot in the middle of the summer, we went bear hunting.
Yep.
If we wanted to, and we caught lots of bear.
Bud told me some of those stories about.
Oh yeah. Oh, Bud always packed a gun. Daryl and I, we never even usually packed a gun, but Bud always had a gun, you know. But Daryl and I never. Bud was always griping at us and mad. You know, finally he got to being happy, and I couldn't figure out why he was happy. And then I got to looking in his saddlebags, and heck, he'd take a bottle of peppermint schnapps with him. So he was pretty happy. God. The best story I like about old Bud, he had that big old black dog, and his mother had made a big old cake about that big. Bud cut it in 4 pieces, and he packed that cake all day and just kept it really good, you know, so nothing would get bent on it or nothing. We was way up between Byers Run and South Fork, right up on the ridge about 3 o'clock one evening, and he said, let's have this cake. So we all stopped. He gave us all a piece of cake. There was 4 of it. Bud reached and got his cake, and he started to his mouth. That old black dog just ran and grabbed it all. Oh, my God. Bud run him off under the hill with rocks and everything. None of us would even give him a piece of our cake, you know. God damn it. It was fun.
Tell a story about the little female lion that over here that you kept for a trainer, and they come up and was going to show you how to catch her. Remember?
Oh, yeah. I was living at the Wahoo over here then, and there was about this much snow on the ground, and I'd run her all the time. I could find her track nearly every day. I trained a lot of them dogs on her, you know, and I'd sit there and watched them trailing, running her, you know, and stuff. And in fact, when them 2 females had a pup, they didn't have the pups, but they were both big with pups. I got her over there and started her, and I was on that bluff, and I watched it. Of course, they couldn't keep up with Hobo or nothing, you know. But anyway, I'd run her a lot. And I'd run her over here. That one year, she'd go over there and kill a calf in my horse pasture there where I had a bunch of 2-year-old heifers. About 3 times, I thought, I better leave her alone and leave her over there for deer, you know. But anyway, they kept wanting to come up there and run that line, you know, with their dogs. And I told them, well, come on, I know where she's got her kill. I said, you guys can be on her at daylight. I said, she's got her kill right there. They come up, and they started her. She was on that kill, they told me. They never went 2 miles from that kill, and they ain't seen her yet, you know. And that night, they come in, the Bud coming down the trail to the house. And a little bit, here'd come a dog, and here'd come another, and here'd come another. After a while, Daryl come in with the rest of the dogs. I said, well, did you catch her? Hey, we ain't even seen her yet. He said she'd go to them trees and just circle one, and then she'd go off that way. And then she'd come back and said, well, she'd come along behind our trail and jump our trail and go off this way.
Sounds about right, huh?
No, it said, we ain't even seen her yet. I said, well, I've never caught her. I've run her 100 times. Right. I hadn't run her that much, but I'd run her plenty. And but I didn't catch her, and I didn't have no snow, you know. But she Hobo knew her by sight. He'd run her lots.
He knew her.
So she was pretty rank. But I never did have many females. I'll tell you the truth. I never did have a top female. Never did. But I didn't have many females, you know. But I've never had a top female. Never.
Did you like male dogs better than females?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I liked it. I never had a good, well, I never had a real good one,
so,
you know.
Yeah.
But I had 2 or 3 red tick females that I should have kept. We'd have seen how good they were. They were already trained when that bunch, you know, and I gave them away. Mm. Yeah, it was a bad deal. I'd love to have one of them right now.
That's like those dogs, kind of like those mules. I had a guy ask me the other day, said, you know, do you have any good mules? I said, I might, but I'm not sure I know what a good mule is.
Boy, there was a guy camped up here, worked for the, well, I guess, I don't know what you call it now, but he was a trapper and stuff. But he'd come in up here to hunt elk, you know, and he had a mule, a nice looking mule. He's bragging on that mule all around there and everything. And finally he asked me, and I said, no, I don't know. I said, I've never had many mules, but I said, I've had enough that I don't know one. Oh, shoot, he got mad at me. Wouldn't even talk to me after that. Gee. You know, them seem like those bigger mules from back east and stuff, they seem like they're a little more, you know, they take care of a guy a little better than
those drafty type mules are a lot calmer. I found
yeah,
out.
I think so.
You got to push them a lot harder, though? Or you think they're lazier, Jim?
Well, I think, you know, if they get used to, get conditioned to this country, you have to remember a lot of that stuff that comes from back east ain't subjected to what we put them to out here.
Exactly.
Dogs, too. You know, I've always contended if you're going to get dogs from around your locale. Don't bring them from eastern United States, because I don't know that anything ever, the climates adjust to it. I think everything's a product of their own environment. People and dogs and mules.
Now that
that's why I like these, like Henderson dogs. They've been bred right here in the Southwest. They're what I call Southwest hounds. They're I consider them almost a separate breed.
Almost a breed.
Of their own. And what about you, Clay?
I don't know. That's about all I've ever used. It was good, you know what I mean? The rest of them, I've had others, but I've never had them that done much, you know.
But like you said, you had to go through a bunch to get the good ones.
I did. I mean, you can't imagine how many I went through.
And you just pick them up anywhere you could and just give them a
people
try?
would give them to me, that puppies, and I'd raise them as pups, but shoot, they wouldn't do nothing, you know. I had two, a big black dog and a big black and white spotted dog. Big, nice-looking dogs. They'd run the heck out of a bear, but I never even had them trail a line, you know. I took them over there and traded them to Clell for a couple of little old dogs. I never did, even the two I got from Clell, I never did see them trail anything.
They just weren't cold, just settle down in cold trail?
No.
You know what I found, a lot of them, especially those kennel-raised registered dogs, and they don't have the perseverance to stay hooked. They'll run a track, and I've had a bunch of them. They'd run a track as long as it's a good track, but when it got tough trailing, they wouldn't buckle down on it. They just quit and come to you. That's what I found. They just don't have that tenacity about them to stay hooked.
Herschel had two dogs, a black and tan dog and a white spotted bitch over there, and he kept them in a pen all the time, never used them at all. I finally, when I got big enough, I started borrowing them, and I'd go hunting with them. And the black and tan male dog was not worth a damn for nothing. I guess he'd fight a bear a little, I don't know. I never did have him do anything. But the female was a good dog. And I'd go borrow her and take her, and she'd stay in that pen for a year at a time. I'd take her hunting. She'd never touch a deer, never touched nothing. She was a nice dog, you know, and hunt good, you know. And I don't know where he got them or anything. And he raised a couple of pups, and I got one of the pups. And I didn't know anything about distemper then or nothing. That pup got up year and a half, 2 years old, and I trapped a lot in the winter. And that's what I was using him for. Boy, he'd just trail them coyotes up. Some of them I had 3 or 4 days gone. He'd go and find them, you know, and trail them. And then he died of distemper, you know. But I don't know what she was. Looked like a walker, but she was little. I don't know what she was, but she was a good old female. And I don't know where she come from or what she done.
Do you use a trap dog now?
I don't have one now. No, I think they're pretty handy, but because I like drags, you know, but I think they're pretty handy.
Did you have a pretty good winter last year, Clay?
No, I was sick 8 weeks.
Oh, really?
I was sick 8 weeks.
What's the matter? You don't know?
No, I don't know. Probably had this coronavirus. That was something they didn't know about. What do you need, sweets?
There's more tea here now.
We're fine, thank
Thank
you.
you.
But anyway, I didn't have, it was 8 weeks, and I was sick 8 weeks, and then when I'd set them, it'd rain and snow, and I didn't have them in wax dirt and stuff, you know. I just had them, and I'd have to, they'd freeze down. I caught 35 or something, but that wasn't nothing, you know.
Boy, there's an art to catching those coyotes, isn't there? They're hard.
He caught 100 one year.
120. Yeah.
120.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Yeah. 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to add?
Oh, I don't know. You just, whatever you want me to do.
I bet you've just seen lots of things change, haven't you? I mean,
Oh, I wished I'd have had a camera most of the time, you know.
all the things,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we killed Roosevelt 3 times, and dang, we was going along over there on the South Fork, and you know how that ice will make on below, you know, on a bluff, you know, and the water running off. Shoot, he went along that and he slipped. He fell down there, way down there. Killed old Roosevelt this time. In a little bit, he got up and he'd come with us. I had a gun, and we was trailing a big line over here on Kelly, and gosh, we was across the canyon from him. We seen him fall from a long ways, and he just hit that thing and rolled way down there. And I thought, well, I guess I better go get him and see if he's dead. But I didn't find him when I got over there. We was going maybe an hour and a half. Heard the dogs. Hell, he's in the pack trailing, you know. I thought, gee, and then we treated a big bear, a big son of a gun over there on the other side of the mountain. Damn, shot him out and he fell on Roosevelt. I thought, gee, we killed him this time for sure, but 3 times and he never did get.
Whatever happened to him?
He died of old age.
Died of old age.
Yeah. That another bear we caught over there in Kelly Canyon. Big old rough, deep canyon. There's about 8 of us got there to that tree, and Hobo, he always stood with his and leaned on me when he had treed when I got there. He'd lean up against me, on my feet and watch. Well, they shot this bear with a bow, and that was the first bear that I'd had him dealing with a bow or anything. And the guy that shot him was standing there by me, and the old red dog was right here, red spotted dog. That bear come out of that tree when he shot him with that bow, and he just made a beeline for that guy, you know. Well, I had my gun in my hand. I just made a beeline for the bear, because I didn't want him getting that guy. And when I did, that old dog come by me, and he met that bear head on, you know, just right head on. Man, the fight was on, and I run in and killed the bear. Well, then the old dog just come around and looked up at me and fell over, you know, and it had cut him all the way from here, plumb across. But it hadn't cut the jugular vein, nothing. And so he just looked at me and he fell over. Well, I grabbed him because he was bleeding bad. I grabbed him, laid him on a log there, and that guy had his bow, and so I took the string and cut it. Daryl held that thing close, and I made a sharp thing out of he had a metal thing that he said he weaved that yarn through that bowstring, and so I sharpened it right quick and fixed it, and then I tied some of that bowstring to it, and I just laid him across that log, and I just sewed it up plumb from there to there. There was a place that wide you could see where he went all the way around to me, and it was that wide, that blood trail, and I held it, and I sewed that up. Kelly's really deep, and the pickups were way on top, and I thought, well, he can't walk out of here because he hadn't got up yet. In a little while, he kind of moved around and moved. So I told Daryl, I said, y'all take the hunters back and do everything. And I said, I'll take him down this canyon. And it was 5 miles to a road. And the old dog walked 5 miles down there. And I put a T-shirt around, Daryl had a T-shirt, and I cut it and made a bandage and put it around his neck there. And he walked 5 miles down there.
Wow.
And they come and got me. And then it just so happened, she didn't like the hounds at all about that time. She says she didn't, but she didn't like them because I was gone a lot. Anyway, I had just killed the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, I think, were one of the dumbest. I had three. One of them weighed 1,500 pounds, and another one weighed about 12, and then another one's a little bit smaller. Beeves in the trail to kill, and I was here by myself, and I go to the trail, and I just say bang, 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 3 of them.
Wow.
By myself, and nothing to hang them or nothing.
Huh.
And I started to work on them. I got through about 10 that night, but that was the dumbest. But anyway, I kept the heart and had the hearts and liver here and everything. So I just tied the old dog into the barn, and she'd feed him 2 or 3 times a day, that heart and liver, and he got well.
That's good food.
He had that scar, but it wasn't bad, you know. And then he got a horse stepped on him and had to cut off one of his toes, but it didn't seem to bother him at all.
That's all that. Which dog was that? Roosevelt?
No, Hobo.
Oh, Hobo.
That is
Okay.
Hobo, Roosevelt's dad and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we only bred Hobo to 3 dogs. I bred her to them 2, Patches and Freckles, and Homer Bryant bred her to Whiskey, the female he had that came. I don't know. I think she came out of them bloodhounds from
Arizona
well, from the
state pen.
state pen down there. I think that's where she come from.
How about, what was the man you said you hunted with? Hugh. What's his name? Hugh? Has the book.
Pete Hughes.
Pete Hughes. Did you ever hunt with Pete Hughes?
No, I never heard of it.
He was a government guy.
Oh yeah.
He was Hugh Onley's buddy up there.
Oh yeah.
Kibler. Kibler was that guy. John Kibler.
Jonathan Kibler. Kibler.
I'd like to hunt them again, but I told Emily I need 2 dogs. Train them on the 4-wheeler so I can go up there, turn them up these canyons and just stay with them, you know, and let them hunt, you know. But I won't do that. It's too much trouble, I guess. Nothing like hearing a dog's trail on a cold line. Yeah, one that they can just barely move.
Yeah.
God, that Hobo, he just screamed, you know. It was a screaming voice, and sometimes you'd think you're going to have to kick him to ever make him quit. He would get his breath. Man, he just screamed.
That's what that Uno dog does. He gets that scent, and his whole body just quivers, and he goes ooh like that, and he just quivers. And you think problem with him is he'll do it on a coyote too.
Hobo would too. That's why I didn't take Hobo much with Graves and all of them, because Hobo, when he had a bunch of dogs there, if as long as it was my pack, it's fine. But if he's had something else and he'd see one of them smelling, he just couldn't stand the pressure. He'd do it every time. But he wouldn't walk over a line track either, you know. But boy, he was bad. Never started out hardly with me, but boy, he was when I got around other dogs, you know.
You know, one thing I've noticed on y'all's dogs, Clay, they don't have to step over a track to find a track. You know, the old Clinker, he could, and then them descendants I got of him, they will win the track, even a bobcat track, 50, 75 yards, and go to it. Yeah. And I've seen in the mountains, old Clinker, and that old famous dog was out of Black and Tan, come west. They'll win the damn line track from here to that barn and go to it, you know. They didn't have to step across it, you know.
That major dog that I had, I don't know how many times I've had him unload him, and he not be there and look around. Where's Major? In a minute, I'll hear him out there, 300 or 400 yards. He started a lion or a bear, you know. And he didn't know that track was out there. He had to go find it.
Go find it.
Yes, and you know, after they got all trained, I never messed with them much, you know, around the pickup or anything. I just turn them out and let them do their thing, you know, because I usually have maybe one young one with them or something, but them old ones, shoot, I'd start up one of these canyons, and shoot, I'd think, well, I better go over and check that canyon. Shoot, I get over there, and maybe there's a little snow. Hobo's done been there. Yeah. You know, he's done been there and checked it all out.
And you know, them dogs, they remember all them old scrape trees,
They
too.
do. Yep.
They'll go to them, and they'll go out of their way to go to them.
We caught big male lion there on the Wahoo one day, and this guy shot him. And a friend of mine, he just grabbed that male lion, put him up around his neck. We come off that hill, got about halfway down there. The old lion starts
Oh, jeez.
growling a little bit, you know. Throwed him down. The old lion's come to, you know, a little bit. Dang, that guy that shot him in the head, but it just glanced off.
Knocked him out.
Knocked him out. Boy, that old boy grabbed his pistol and went to shooting that lion. To shoot poor old lion.
How far do you think these lions travel in this country?
No, they travel quite a ways. Them male lion do. Yeah.
Big old circles, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
You know, my biggest deal is Clay. When I'm trailing a lion, I don't know. Some of them tracks I trail, I know I ain't gonna catch them. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know when to quit them tracks and go. People's told me, old lion hunters, say stay with them as long as the dog will bark on them, but that may not get you anywhere anyway. But it's all such a gamble and a guess when to quit a track, you know.
Yeah, but it sure is hard for me to quit one when they're still bellowing on it.
They're still opening on it.
Well, I always said it's better to be trailing a bad track than no track at all.
Right, yeah.
That's my theory. Sometimes I think when you quit them, you're not that far from them.
Oh, yeah, I bet so. Yeah.
I think you're within a quarter of a mile a lot of times. And I know those little old females sometimes are just sneaking along in front of you, Clay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've trailed them over on that Black Mountain in Tuamona caught one. And that thing crossed our tracks. We was off walking, leading her. And Black Mountain's maybe 40 acres on, kind of rolls around. And we was off just walking, leading. And them dogs treed 3 times and dead alligator junipers. And that old famous dog of mine, I'd get there and I'd say, Famous, he's not in there. He's just jumping up looking back at y'all. And I'd get him away from there. And we crossed our own tracks 3 times.
Yeah.
And we was just walking around, leading our horse.
So
and
that line was
just milling around. And they'd go like from here to that wall over there and turn 90 degrees like that. And them dogs would try to grab that track and run it. They overrun it when they...
That's how that little female there, she'd throw you some of them things. She'd come around behind you.
Pup trainers is what I call
them. Oh,
them.
yeah, I kept her there for years. And boy, she's just good.
You could just go down there and get her.
Oh,
get the
you could
dogs
hit
on
her track just about any time you wanted.
Oh, they did.
Yep.
But the Welty boys never caught her either.
No. No, I don't
They was
know.
going to show you how, wasn't
Yeah, they were.
Did y'all trade dogs with the Welties a lot and everything?
Yeah, and then they used some of my dogs that I'd raised at later litters, and then they bought dogs from the Lees a lot.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they bought that old Rustler dog. They bought Bounce. They bought Bucky. Bought Smokey, and they's all good line dogs and bear dogs. And that old Rustler dog was the one they had down there on them Tigres, using him as a start dog.
And that's kind of what their line of dogs have descended from.
Well, they didn't raise hardly. I don't know of them ever raising any. Then they had 2 that come from Graves. 3. They had Lulu, Boone, and Crockett that come from Graves out of his dog.
Well, David still hunts a lot, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I heard that he had really good dogs. That he had some good dogs.
Well, I'm sure he does. I haven't been around.
He got Bud's dogs, didn't he? When Bud
Yeah, Bud let him have them. Yeah. And then him and Wes has been trading dogs for years, you know. And
I hunted with the Welties one time in Herschel, and Herschel had an old blue tick female called Sadie. No, he didn't. We caught a bear up Water Canyon up there. Me and Daryl shot the bear. And I had an old blue tick dog that a coon hunter gave me. There was only 2 dogs left on that damn bear. That's the meanest little old sow bear. She'd get after them dogs and run them back to the bottom of the canyon. And you're going to go back up the hill. And them old 2 blue ticks, ooh, you know. And she'd get up there and then turn and run them dogs back, you know.
I called it, I don't know about that bear, but I put their dogs, I didn't have none of mine. Daryl and I put their dogs on a little old bear. I call them Mexican bear. Yeah. I don't know what everybody calls it. That track was about that big. Yeah. And she had a cub with her about, hey, it's a little thing. They come by our trail up there. Well, hauled up to the corral. We put them dogs on that little old bear, and they just sold out on them. And about 35, 40 minutes, they just come back just as fast as they was going that way. Boy, that little bear, she did whip them dogs, boy. She had that little old bitty cub.
Yeah.
Man, she whipped them dogs. You could break a stick or something. Oh my gosh, them dogs would just do like that. That little bear just whipped the heck out of them. I was over there by Black Mountain to the north at Cooney Prairie there, and the dogs had run a bear, and I don't know, we got split up or something. I had Roosevelt and one other dog with me, and we was up on this kind of a deep canyon there, and man, there's a bear down there. It's the biggest female I've ever seen, and she put a little old bitty cub up a tree like that. Well, heck, Roosevelt seen it about then, so he just bailed off, and I was trying to get him back, and then he was barking and going on down, running her. Man, in a little bit, everything got quiet. And I'm right on the trail going down the minute I met Roosevelt coming back. She changed his mind, boy. But she's the biggest female I ever seen. She was big.
How big do you think the biggest bear is you caught in this country?
I don't know, 500 or 600 pounds.
Big ones, yeah.
There are pictures of them in there.
Yeah, I've seen some of those pictures.
I don't know. Annalise bears was pretty good size, the one she killed. That was quite a fight. We went up the canyon, and I knew where they was. I thought I knew where there was two bears. Well, when we got up there, I just unloaded the dogs. Well, Hobo and Major just went like that, and they just sold out. So, man, I had little Sam Blue and Roosevelt and Old Sam. I had a pretty good little pack of dogs. Man, they charged that bear, run him up on Blaylock Mountain there. Man, they put him, I don't know how many trees they put him up. They put him up 3 or 4 trees when her and I was trying to get there. But they'd had him up some before we got there. Boy, that bear would reach up and grab them limbs and just tear them and throw them at them dogs down there like that, you know. And, he was mean. Then he'd come out. Man, the fight would be on, you know, and just piled of bear and dogs, you know. Gee, man, he only hurt one dog, a whole bunch, you know. And so I grabbed him up, and we went to the vet with him, left their bear there, and so it made 2 or 3 spots on it where it laid on the ground, you know, that ruined it, you know, in 2 or 3 places. I mean, we had it fixed anyway, you know. But
Did y'all eat any of the bears?
No.
Don't eat them?
I don't eat them. I tell you what, I've tried to eat 2 or 3 of them. And now, we got a friend in Albuquerque that comes down here and hunts bear, and he makes some sausage and stuff that the wife and them say it's good, but I don't eat it. I tell you, I've seen too much of what they eat. The more I eat it, the bigger it gets, you know. I trailed at the same country there. I started a bear, and there'd been dead cow there, you know. Got up on that first saddle through there, and when the dogs about overtook him, well, what had happened, them 2 old dogs that I traded Dale, they'd run off when I unloaded them. Well, they run off. We went way up the canyon before I could get them back. And well, by the time I got back, that bear had came into that cow. It wasn't there when I left. And so I put them dogs, of course, they just flew out after that bear. But we rimmed around to the saddle up there, and there was a thing of maggots that wide, as far down that side as I could see, plumb over this side, and everything that side. And I just don't have the heart to eat them bear, I'll tell you for sure. I imagine a young one would be all right, but not for me, you know.
How about lion?
Oh, I don't mind lion at all.
It's real pretty clean meat.
Oh, yeah, it sort of looks like pork, you know. I don't mind lion at all. If you like eating a cat, that don't bother me. But now lion, because they kill most of what they eat, you know, and fresh, I don't mind eating one of them. What do they call them? Fondue or something like that, where everybody's at the table and they all bring different kind of meat and you cook it on a little stick over the table. I never knew anything about that until I went over there. This lady from New Zealand said, y'all bring 2 or 3 kinds of meat. Well, I happened to have some lion and I had some oryx and I don't know what else I had, but I took that. They eat that line, all of them, pretty good, you know. I was camped over at Hermosa one time trapping, and I was catching a few bobcat. They had a boy there. He wanted every bobcat I got, and so he kept them, and he put jerky. He made jerky out of them. Had them on the clothesline, and he'd eat those. He'd jerk those bobcats. Her and I were building trail one day, and I kept hearing this bird coming along on the side there, following us. And I knew what it was. She didn't. I knew what it was. It was a lion, you know, following us down through there.
Chirping?
Kind of chirping, yeah. And he was following us along there. And she kept, "What's that, honey? What is that?" I said, "I don't know." I kept telling it. Finally, this friend of ours up here had a pet one that sounded just like it, you know. And I finally got her down close to the pickup. And I said, "Remember Tommy's line?" And she said, "Oh, hey, that is what that is, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what it was." We never did see it. And then another time I was hunting over there with that walker dog that's in that picture there. It was that boy's, and I went over there. And we were trailing down one ridge. This line was going down the other ridge. You could hear him. He was chirping at that dog all the time.
Really?
That dog was bellowing, and he was chirping at that line. I said, "You want to go over there and trail that line?" And he said, No. I said, "Don't." I said, "Well, that's what it is." I said, "You'll get a fresh track there if you want to go." But we didn't go. We went the next day and seen his track where he'd come down through there.
Is that a Tom that chirp like that too, or a female, or?
I don't know. The ones I've heard I don't know about them, but this one up here was a Tom. That one he had as a pet, it's a big old Tom, and it'd chirp like that.
Or whistle, or what?
Yeah, something like that. It sounded like a bird, kind of.
Yeah, I've heard that. Or I haven't heard. I might have heard it, but didn't recognize it. But I've heard people talk about it.
Yeah.
And there's a video that
I've heard it quite a bit. Yeah.
There's a video online of one. They got those trail cameras that'll video. Yeah. And there's one that's chirping, that's making that noise.
Mm-hmm. You know what I heard in the mountains one day, and I heard something bawl, and it was way up in the rough, in the bluffs, and there wasn't no cattle up there, and I believe that was a bear, bawled like a yearling. Have you ever heard him?
Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
And where it was at, there wasn't no cattle.
Yeah, it's a bear, I bet you. Yeah.
There on the north end.
What do you think that meant? What do you think he was?
I don't know. I had dogs, and I was down below. I was on the north end of the Magdalenas there behind Claude Wallace's, cutting across. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't no cow sign in there. And way up there, I stopped in the saddle, and I heard this. Sound like a yearling bawl is what it sounded.
I've heard it. I bet. I don't know what they do that for, but maybe wanting mama or something.
Did it sound like a cat? No.
You hear a lot of things when you're up there.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. You know, that forest of allotment of ours, I used to ride up there all the time, you know. Man, you heard everything, you know. You wouldn't, a lot of things you wouldn't know what was, you know.
Well, were the javelina always in this country?
No.
Clay?
No.
They migrated later, didn't they?
The first one I killed, I can't remember what year it was, but anyway, they migrated in. Yeah. I think we had too much snow then.
Yeah.
You know, it'll kill them, you know. And I see these caves. There's little caves over there in Wahoo that go back in, say, 5 or 10 feet. Man, that's full of pig shit, you know. Yep. I know they do that in the winter or something. I guess, trying to stay warm. I don't know what they're doing.
I've had trouble with my dogs in javelina.
That old dog, that red one there, that Seidel dog.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves to run a fight a javelina. Jeez, come in, you know, try to get him off of them in them holes, and he loved them.
Yeah.
The others, Sam never did bother him much, you know.
It's kind of like Mike Rudolph said. He said, "You're not a houndsman until you've caught everything on the mountain." Though.
Yeah.
That's what his theory is.
I believe it.
One winter, I got to catching them ringtail cats over there on the north end of the Magdalena Mountains. And I tell you what, they're at in them little old gray oaks that grow in the bottom of the canyon. Most of them holler. And them ringtail cats would be in there looking out a knothole like that. And they'll fuss like a coon.
Yeah.
And you talk about dogs and try to get a bunch of dogs away from there and him in there squalling. I caught 3 one winter. They treat him. I saw one of them stick his head out, you know, but I ain't seen many lately.
I caught a badger once. We were going along in the snow in this track there, and this hunter told me, I said, that's a badger track. And he said, boy, don't let your dogs run that badger. He said, boy, I said, he'll hurt them. I said, yeah. We kept going along. The littlest 3-rail we had, and the black dog and another dog slipped off down the side, and in a minute I heard a fight down there. We went down there, and that badger's in 3 or 4 pieces down there. And I asked that guy, I said, well, there's your mean badger. Another time I tell you about, Roy Dean was over there by himself hunting, and he had the dog, and he caught a lion. And he come back telling Darrell and I, he said, well, I had to leave, and I can't remember the dog's name. And he said, we left him over there. I said, why did you leave him? Well, he got out on this rock and said, we don't know how he got out there or anything else, and said, he can't get off, and said it's 100 foot straight off any direction. And I said, gee, well, what did he do? He said, well, I started to shoot him. He said, because I couldn't get him. So Annalie and I and Darrell and his wife, we loaded up the next morning, and I took 3 or 4 big ropes, and we went over there, and I had a harness and things, and I put Darrell on that harness, and I got up there above on a pinon tree, and I give him enough rope, and I swung him out around that, way out there, 100 foot over there, and I swung him out around, and he got that dog, got on that rock with the dog. The rock wasn't near as big as this, and I don't know how he stayed there all night on it. And Darrell got the dog, put a rope around his middle and his neck, and then swung him back, and I undone him. And then Darrell tied himself back on, and I swung him back and pulled him back out of there.
I don't even like to hear them.
And they didn't even get the lion, so I went around, and where they'd shot the lion off, I went down and got it and backed it back out and hung it in, because they didn't even bring the guy's lion out because he went off so far when they shot him. And anyway, but that was the worst place I've ever had a dog that he stayed alive, you know. That gone dog wasn't 2 or 3 months till lightning hit their water or something there on the chain and killed him by lightning. Yeah.
Huh. When you were line hunting, you were going to take off. How many days do you think it'd take to hit a good line track, a catchable something, or catch a lion?
Back then, it'd take quite a while. Gee, 4 or 5 days probably.
4 or 5 days.
Now, I don't think it would.
I think you'd get on a line track a lot.
I think so, but I don't know.
Depending on the conditions, whether you catch him or not.
Yeah.
Clay, I was going to ask you, I trailed some lines, and if you start a track, say 8:30, and I don't know, I always say that the track just dissipates or something. You do pretty good to about 11:30, 12, and then it'll start just playing out on you. Mm-hmm. And I always say that track is fading out, and people say, oh, you don't have enough dogs. But
that's not it. No.
I think it's the conditions, don't you?
Oh yeah, I don't. It ain't the dogs.
Yeah. Because I always go over this theory. If you start this track at 8:30 and you trail it that far, now you're closer to the line. You ought to be able to be picking it up. But I know that once the dog gets hot and starts breathing through his mouth, he loses his ability to trail. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and then another thing about that thing, if there's any moisture at all in that ground,
right,
that's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always compare a line track to like a ember, a dying ember out there. Anything that would affect that ember, whether it be wind or rain, also affect that track.
Exactly, yeah.
That's my answer.
Yeah, sounds right.
And I don't know, there's so much of that scenting I can't figure it out. I think there's so many variables play into it. I do know one thing, one of those mornings where it stays cloudy, a good heavy cloud cover, you can do a lot better trailing than trailing.
As long as it don't evaporate,
right.
Starts evaporating.
As soon as that sun hits out, and that happens on the east side of the mountains I hunt on, I mean by sunup, the wind's done struck wind and sun's done hit that track, and I'll be trailing pretty good in the canyon and start up, go across one of them openings where it's just a grassy and they just go out there and then you just see it dying in front of them.
And that's why when you go to a saddle,
Yeah.
you might as well just, when you get to that saddle, even if you haven't found a lion track, you might as well just camp there for a minute
Yeah.
and give them dogs plenty of room to
Right.
time, because through them saddles, they're hard to pick up, you
Yeah.
know, and everything. And boy, just camp there for a minute. Let them old dogs work around, you know, and go off kind of under the sides and things, because right through that saddle, you might not find them.
And I'll tell you something else I got to through. You go up them canyons early in the wintertime and they're frosted down. I think them tracks were frosted down. I had a female and she just died. I called her Lisa. And she wouldn't hunt the bottom of them canyons. She'd get up on the side, kind of even weave where the sun was hitting it. She'd start the track up there because I believe those tracks were frosted down with that frost in them.
No, I started a big male line up here. Sam started it, and he could trail it a little bit under a tree. And boy, he wouldn't leave, and he wouldn't leave. And finally, I called him off, and we went way on up above there, way up there. We hit that track way up there and started right back down where we'd come up through. And it had gotten a little warmer then, you know. I think that track was frosted up all the way to there. I decided it was.
Yeah.
And when we got down there to where we'd started, heck, he trailed right through Sam was wanting to trail that morning.
Right.
You know, I know, same track, but
Right.
it was, that old canyon was really cold that
Right.
morning, you know, and things. I think it frosted up. And we
So
went
it, like frozen in, and then after it starts to thaw, then you can trail it.
yep.
They walk and it frost is on top of it and it freezes. And to me, that's a froze down track.
You're right.
And there's nothing there till this frost layer begins to evaporate.
Yep.
Like
But I don't
frozen
know.
Fish, you can't smell frozen fish. And
Yeah.
Then when that fish thaws out, you can smell it.
But I don't know. There's much of this I don't. The more I hunt, the less I know, Clay.
No, me too.
Jeez, I know. And I'm terrible. I've been accused of trying to analyze things too much. I always try
And
to
I
figure
quit
it out.
making up excuses anymore. People ask me, well, Jim, did you catch anything today? And I said, no, I didn't catch nothing. Well, why didn't you? I said, I don't know. Go talk to them dogs. I just don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like old Pat Wantland, a friend of ours, always said, if it's going to happen, it'll happen. If it don't, it won't. You know, that's the way it is. He said he and Dale was hunting one day. He was with Dale, and Dale had a client. They was going up a canyon, and them old dogs was scraping something. They was bawling, running around there bawling, and Dale had a client with him. His client, Dale just got off and sitting on a rock over there, leaned up against the tree. His client said, Mr. Lee, tell me what's happening. What's going on? Said old Dale directly looked up and said, hell, I wish I knew. I'd tell you. But he said, we might wait around here 20 or 30 minutes and see if something happens. And he said, directly they got it figured out, trailed up over a ridge and treated a big old tom, you know. But I'm of a theory, you always are give a dog a lot of time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's always been my.
I know it's been mine.
I just get impatient. I think I'm missing out. You know, I think, well, that lion's over that hill. We can hit that track a little better, you know, and just mess with the dogs, you know, and say, hey, come on, let's go over here. And I think I've made mistakes like that, you know.
Well, I know Herschel Dwelter, he did, because he was impatient. He's so bad, you know.
Daryl was too, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I had a friend that Dwayne Day hunted a lot with Bud, and he said they was down there by springtime hunting, and there's camp down there at the springtime campground. And they'd trail a big old tom, and he'd come out on a ridge, and he'd got up in the evening, and the dogs come out on this ridge, and old Bud just got off his horse and leaned up against a tree over there, and Dwayne was impatient. He was running around looking. He went over and picked old Bud's hat up and said, Bud, ain't you going to help these dogs? Said old Bud looked up at him. He said, if I could smell that damn line track, I wouldn't have these dogs. yeah, if I could smell it, I wouldn't even have these dogs. What amazes me is some of these guys, they can leave town and go to the mountains and trail 2 lines, and I can go ride 4 or 5 days in that same area and never get a bark, you know.
What happened to me 2 different times, I'm going along here, and y'all probably had it too. A coyote will start barking at you or something coming along with your dog.
Yeah.
And I'm watching over there on the other side of the mountain over there, and I noticed Roosevelt, he just kept easing over this way, like that, you know. And some of them said, "What's he doing?" I said, "Let's wait and see." Boy, he got over there fairly close to that coyote, and boy, he broke and run. He caught that coyote, you know, and he killed him right there. You know, he's done it twice, Roosevelt. Yeah, how to do it, you know. And Roosevelt and Hobo, we got up there on the flats up there, and dang, they got away from me one day there. And I know they were running a coyote, but I didn't. Then I lost them that day. I went back for 3 evenings. I'd get up on some of them ridges, and I could hear them running down there. Oh. I know they were running coyotes. I know they were. Them suckers, I finally caught them, you know, but gee, I know they were running coyotes. I just know they were. They wasn't running no lion or bear down there, you know. I know they were running coyotes. Them suckers. But they were pretty tough dogs, you know. They were mean, you know. Homer, two of them got in a fight one day, and I don't remember even which two. I don't think it was though. Boy, Homer jumped in there going to separate them. I said, "Homer, you can leave them alone." I said, "They'll hurt you." Just a minute, the blood started flying, you know, and everything. Homer, now I see what you mean, Clay. Them old dogs were tough, you know. Blood.
Did you ever hunt with old Knothead of his?
Yeah, quite a bit.
He's a pretty good old dog, wasn't he?
He's a pretty good old dog, yeah. He was.
Was he kin to those dogs of yours?
Oh, yeah. He's out of Hobo.
He was out of Hobo.
Yeah, he was out of Hobo. Hey, that female that we bred, Knothead was one of them.
Oh, okay.
He's one of them pups. Yep.
Now, that's the one that Pat's dog was. Old Dempsey was a brother to him.
Yeah.
They were.
Yep.
Did you ever hunt with old Dempsey? Was he as
just that time
wicked as Pat let him out? Made him out. You know, but Pat would embellish the truth a little bit sometimes. He'd kind of stretch it out.
No, or you don't think so? Do you?
No, I shouldn't say that. He's not with us anymore.
No. Oh, he loved to talk about him. Pat. That was Pat's main thing. He knew all them old dogs' names. He knew all that.
He told me that it stuck in his mind like putting on his pants, just the lineage of those old dogs. That old pilot dog of Dale and Clell's is so wild, he could tell you what dogs he was out of.
Exactly.
Dale and them didn't raise old pilot. He come from somebody else over there. Yeah. And Pat could tell you the male and the female, and old pilot's been dead for a long time.
70 years.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go talk to Pat. I got phone messages.
Well, Pat or Dan sure would have talked to him.
Yeah, he was looking forward to it.
He's a good talker.
I was excited about it. And then I got that news. It was terrible. Now, JR claimed, and I didn't, you know, he said this. They said that one of those dogs that Dale Lee had, that he was real high on, and in the book, he talks about finding a dog on the highway there by a hatch.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a really good lion hound. And JR claims that was his dog.
Yeah.
And JR told me, he said, that was my dog. I know that was my dog. They picked him up. Right. And then I didn't really think much of it until I went to JR's funeral. And they talked about how JR always hunted coons down on the river right by a hatch.
Yeah.
And so it's plausible, you know, that it could have been. They said they found that dog walking down the interstate there. Or down the highway.
My dad, he sold his dogs to Ernest and them. When he quit hunting, he had a cripple-spotted dog, and he had an old dog he called Brownie, and a little dog he called Jerry. Jerry went to South America. I wished I'd have kept the letters. I don't have them. Ernest told him, said that little Jerry's as good a tigre dog as we've ever had, you know. And said, old Brownie, we love him, because said, if the track's so many hours old, Brownie won't trail it. Said, if Brownie trails it, you know you're liable to catch it, he said. They didn't say nothing about the little cripple-spotted dog.
Ernest the one that got killed?
No, Ernest was the older brother.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Ernest he's really the brains of the hunting deal there for years and years and years. Yeah, all the letters that I have and things is from Ernest, you know, and things. Dale and Clell, I think they were younger. I think they were just the hunters. Ernest was getting the dogs and giving them, letting them take them and hunt them and see what they were.
Anything else you want to tell the hound hunting world?
No, I guess not. I don't know. I like to talk when I find this, if I can think of the stories.
Oh, it's been good.
Well,
It's
we
been
sure
really
appreciate it,
Yeah.
Clay. To me, you're an icon in the West. I mean, you're the last of the true hound. I've always figured you as a true houndsman. You knew dogs, and you knew what made dogs tick. I think,
I told Emily I've never been good at nothing, but I did have some good dogs.
Shoot,
I loved them. I mean, trailing them lines.
Yeah.
And the thing that, and they all kind of laugh at me and everything, but I had a photographic memory. Okay, if you tell me there's a tree over there and you describe it to me, then I see it where I've been. I've had that all my life. I can go back to that place forever,
Really?
I got a photographic memory. Words and letters don't mean nothing to me, but a tree or anything or that country, a trail where I've been, I sit, and if you say something about it, I see it right there in front of me.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I see it. I've had that all my life. Them guys have asked me, well, how do you know where we're at and everything? I said, I don't know. I just know. And, I can tell. And that's the way I've had that photographic memory of the country.
You bet.
Just keep it.
Here's one for you.
Yeah, that's mine. Oh man, that's nice.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate y'all's time. That's take your day, take a day out and do this. I really appreciate it. There's a sticker.
We appreciate you doing it, Brett.
Yeah.
Oh,
Somebody's got to keep this stories going, or we'll be lost.
there's just such, I believe at this point in time, there's such a big difference between what men from your generation have gone through and what we're doing now. And be able to talk to somebody who's done it all, is I think, just a matter of time, when those stories might be gone. And these young guys don't understand.